Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of our Zohar study, where we are one world, engaging with the energy of the Zohar and spreading all that positive energy throughout the whole world. Wherever we are, we're spreading it throughout the whole world. This week's portion is Mishpatim.
Hello.
Volume 10.
I don't know.
And we're at verse 210. Let's invite in the lineage of the Rav and Karen and Michael, Rav Shlag, Rav Brandwein, the Ariya Kodesh, the Ramchal, Rabbi Tarfon, Rav Avram Azulai, Rav Menachem Mendel Lovitebsk, Rav Kolonim Shapir Piasetzna, the Baal Shem Tov, Rav Shimon Bar Chaim, all the students, Rav Mordechai of Chernobyl, One Soul with Yosef Tzadik in Shem. As we connect to these verses, let's also have in mind, not only are we channeling energy of healing for the whole world, but also energy of removing negativity, energy of avat chinam, unconditional love, of removing chaos and conflict in our world. Let's send energy of healing to Turkey and to Syria, those places that were impacted by the earthquake. Let's also send energy of healing to Ohio, where there was a major chemical spill this week, and a lot of, not really covered, but a lot of very serious environmental issues have come out of that. So we want to send energy of removing all kinds of negativity, both physical negativity, environmental negativity, and energetic negativity, and also the energy of treating everyone with human decency. Okay, we are verse 210. Ve'al dakativ mimana afar Yaakov umispar et rova Yisrael train inun demanu ana ve'alu bechushbana al yidahu. Begin de la shalta behu ena bisha. Mimana afar Yaakov hachad da'aved chushbana umispar et rova Yisrael ha moneh achara. Roshan?
In relation to this, it is written, who can count the dust of Jacob and the number of the fourth part of Israel?
Okay, so that is a verse from the Midbar, which literally means in the desert. That's the fourth book of the 5 books. By the way, we know the 5 books of Moses to be the Bible, to be the Torah. There are some perspectives that there's actually 7 books. But I don't get into that right now, but just so we're clear, it's not so clear, it's really 5 books, but we see them as 5. The 5th book is Bamidbar in the desert, but we're right now still in the book of Shemot, the 2nd book, and that's where Mishpatim is. So, not unusual, the Zohar is drawing a verse from a different portion, and that's what we're focusing on, and that's what we're going to impact. Now, just so we're clear, if we wanted to delve into Mishpatim, which literally means laws, the first Zohar in this section explains that Mishpatim is about reincarnation. It's the laws of reincarnation. And the Zohar goes into detail as to how to read the laws that are enumerated in this week's portion as a deeper understanding of the laws of reincarnation. So that is a lot of the energy that's going on this week. What do I mean reincarnation? We are being challenged this week with judgments from prior lives. And what we are ultimately trying to be conscious of is what kind of corrections are taking place, what kind of challenges are we having to correct for things that happened in prior lives. So some of the stuff that's coming up for us is whatever life challenges I'm having, just as no. A lot of it is prior life. Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? There's nothing really going on. It's energy of prior life. So one of the things that our teachers tell us is this week, don't get involved in any kind of legal proceedings if you can avoid it. This is not the week for involvement in any kind of judgment, because there's significant energy of harsh judgment floating around. And if you're feeling that, that's because it's in the spiritual environment. So when we get that spiritual weather report, so to speak, it's like put a raincoat on, wear an extra layer. Well, it's not really weather, it's really energetic. So like we want to avoid certain things, and that's why we want to avoid anything having to do with judgments. Okay. Meanwhile, we're on a different verse. So let's keep going. Again, it's verse 210, page 375 in my volume 10. Go ahead.
There were two who counted the flock that was numbered by them, because the evil eye had no power over them.
Wait a second. What are we talking about? So there was this idea that they wanted to count the children of Israel, the whole group that was traveling through the desert with Moses. There's a problem with counting people. What could possibly be the problem with counting people? We count people all the time. Why is that a problem? Anyone want to take a stab at why counting people might invite in negative energy? Actually, the answer is right there. It's evil eye. What? In other words, this verse is talking about the two who evil eye has no power over, but by default, that means that the rest of the situations in counting invites in evil eye. It's kind of a very simple thing. By counting people, on the one hand, it's a positive thing. The more, the merrier. The stronger, the more people who are aligned with consciousness. Like here we are on this call reading Zohar. We could have read Zohar on our own, but reading together is more powerful. There's more of us drawing on the energy from the upper realm available to us through these verses. There's more desire to receive for the sake of sharing when we get together than it is when we're individually. And it's exponentially more powerful. That's the power of studying with other people. It's significant, but we're all assisting each other in that connection. So that's positive. And by counting, what you're doing is you're creating an opening for the other side, for the negative side. I'll give you a very simple example. I'm sure I don't look like I have grandchildren, but I do. And people say to me, how many grandchildren do you have? And I don't want to answer. Because it's like asking for an ayin hara. It's like that's why we're modest about we are talking about the positive things we have going on in our life, because it's an opening for the other side. And what do I mean by that? I've told people, it doesn't matter. It's like, how much money do you make? Or like, what is this? What is that? What did you pay for that house? All these things like that might be, on the one hand, very positive. People will look at that with a negative eye. We will. We're all open to this. We're all open to when we hear people talking about positive things, we, at a subconscious level, we feel challenged, we feel insecure. Whatever it does in triggering us, triggers our looking at things with it from a dim view, evil eye. Yes, Ron.
Yeah, I was, actually had a question about that, and I think you kind of partially answered it with like the whole, is it only for people? But you said like, counting like how much money do you make, or is it like when you share it with other people, or like when you do it for yourself too?
Well, it's a great question. I think if you do it from yourself from the perspective is like, I appreciate the blessings I have in my life.
Yeah.
That's doing it in a positive way.
Like count your blessings, sort of.
Yes. That, because in that sense, we're appreciating what, it's from the upper realm. It's from the creator, however you want to look at it. It's like, I'm recognizing this as a blessing. It's like the other side of the coin, I'm glad you brought this up, is like this idea of appreciation. It's like, our teachers have said, what you don't appreciate, you're not going to keep. So the things that you appreciate them. The blessings, the career, the family, the relationship, the friends, the business, whatever. I appreciate that the light has blessed me in this way. So that's doing it from a positive perspective. When it's a negative, I can't believe that guy could afford that house. I mean, that is like, well, what difference does it make? That is us casting negativity on a situation. It's energy.
Mm.
It's energy. It's energy consciousness. And Kabbalistically, it gets expressed in this idea of evil eye. And that's why we're studying this. And
Well,
it is an aspect of judgment. Christian, did you want to say something?
yeah, just that, isn't that expressed emotionally in people through envy, basically? And people are jealous of you,
And envy,
whether it's your child or your job or whatever it is you're doing.
it's like, and it's interesting that it's called evil eye. Is it really the eye? Well, it's kind of our perspective. We're looking at things from an envious or jealous perspective. It's one thing to be jealous of. It's another thing to like not realize, like by doing that, I am sending negative energy in that way.
So I read a book that wasn't Kabbalistic at all. And it was this guy who wrote it about astral plane. And so it's like really out there. But one part I nearly fell over. He said, and it goes both ways. So when someone has a negative wish for you, or they have envy, and the way he described it was it creates an entity that could like mess with you. But also, if they wish, you wish something bad on someone, it could actually turn on you. It was very complex. And I was like, my mind was, but on the positive sense, like he explained it, like if you really love a child, like it kind of creates this positive entity around them. Like, so it goes both ways.
Right.
But, like,
It's energy of
things
protection versus energy of, a threat.
Yeah. So now I'm really conscious if I have like, oh, look at Harry again. I'm just like, stop, just move. Like I close my eyes, especially like on Facebook, and move on.
Yeah. Again, it's so interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Part of what this awakens within us, with this section awakens within us, is this awareness of the impact our thoughts about the things going on around us and the people around us have. Because it's evil eye. You don't have to say anything. Saying something negative, that's lashon hara, evil speech. This is just ayin hara, evil eye. And now the interesting thing is, like, I don't see lashon hara here. I don't even see the words there, because in Aramaic, it's not lashon hara. In the Aramaic, it is, hang on a second. Enabisha. In Aramaic, it's enabisha. So what this does, by the way, what do we do about that? What do we do? I mean, do I control the evil eye of the people around me? Well, we have energy of protection. First of all, there is a 72 name specifically that gives us the energy of protection against evil eye. Third of all, it's one of the reasons that we wear the red string. It reminds us to be careful about our thoughts about negativity and our statements that are negative. And that also gives us, the less engaged we are in negative speech and negative thoughts, the more protection we have. So that's another layer of protection. The next layer of protection that we're getting is this section of the Zohar, which, anytime the Zohar or the Torah talks about something negative happening, that is us receiving it in like, a vaccine. This is vaccinating us against the potential negativity of evil eye of those around us. So this is really a very, very powerful section. So on multiple levels, one is to guard our own consciousness, to guard our own eyes, and the negativity that we channel into the world. And the second is, of course, us gaining energy of protection against the evil eye of those around us. And it's not good, it's not bad. I mean, it is bad, it's negative, but it's damaging. But like, I don't want to judge someone for that. I don't even want to judge them for the evil eye. I don't want to be engaged in judgment at all, especially ever, but especially this week. So this week is giving us the energy of protection against the judgments of others. There's judgments that are out there flying around coming after us. Judgments from this life, judgments from prior lives. We want those judgments torn up. We want those judgments sweetened. And this is a week for an opportunity for us to get that level of protection. And therefore, we want to be very careful about the potential judgments we might create. And of course, conscious about evil eye. Okay, let's continue. Oh, did we finish that? I don't think so. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Who can count the dust of Jacob refers to one who counts. The number of the fourth part of Israel is the second enumerator.
Okay, so there's an aspect of how the children of Israel were counted. But what they ended up doing was they gave a half shekel. Shekel is it's actually the modern day denomination of the currency in Israel. But back in the day, in Bible time, shekel was the denomination. So they gave a half a shekel. Why didn't they give a full shekel? Why didn't they give a quarter shekel? Why didn't they give a dime or a nickel? Why was it a half? Oh, it was just arbitrary? It wasn't arbitrary. And the reason I bring this up is because the holiday of Purim is coming up in another little over 2 weeks. And that is again, it's one of the most joyous days on the calendar. There's all kinds of things that we do to connect to joy and happiness for the whole year on Purim. But one of the things we do is we give charity. Again, this is actually foreshadowing next week. Next week is Truma. It's actually about giving charity. But when we give charity, we are creating openings and removing negativity. We're getting out of our comfort zone. That's the whole point of being charitable, is like it's expanding our vessel. It's doing something we would otherwise do. I need to keep the money. I need to take care of myself. I have rent coming up. I have bills to pay. I can't give away money. Well, actually, you can, and we do. And it's one of the ways that we channel blessings into our lives. Because our teachers tell us that whatever it is we give to charity, we will receive back multiplied. And the other thing about charity is it's the one thing that we can do where we can attach a condition. I'm giving this money to charity because I want healing, because I want protection, because I want to find my soulmate, because I want to find the right business. I want to find the right business partners. Like, we can actually attach a condition to the charitable contributions that we make. But getting back to the point, why a half a shekel? So actually, there was no half shekel piece. There was no 50-cent coin. There was, what you had to do was, you had to find another person to share that shekel with. So you gave a half, but really you and another person gave one. It wasn't about the measurement. It is. There's a whole thing about that, but it's not about that. It's about the energy of unity. And this helps us understand why counting people is negative. Because when you count people, you're limiting them. I'm only one. It's energy of limitation. It's energy of scarcity. Hey, there's not enough for everybody. Of course there is. No, it's a pizza with 8 slices. There's not enough. We'll cut it into 16. No, it's not about, it looks like it's fixed. It's not. Everything is unlimited. We have this perception based on physicality, based on 1%, that there's limited resources in this country. We're running out of lithium for batteries for electric cars. You don't think they can find another way to make batteries if we need to? That is energy of limitation, of fragmentation, of disunity, of conflict. Giving the shekel with someone else is coming together. It's creating unity. So it was a way of overcoming the negativity of counting. You know, when we do a morning connection, we need a quorum of 10. We don't count 10. We don't count 10. So how do we know if we had 10 people? So there's a verse, I don't even know where it's from. It's Hoshia et Mecho Uvarach et Anachatecha Ureim V'Nesem Adonam. There's like a 10-word verse. So you see people like assigning a word from each verse to the people, and then they know if everyone got a word, they know there's 10 people, they know there's a quorum for morning connection. That's how they do it.
I was going to ask you about that, David. Thank you for answering. Because it seems like we're always counting for it, but I get it.
I'll give you a cheat for that. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Also 10 words. But that's not what's traditionally done. But anyhow, we don't count. Again, counting is separation. It's limitation. It's disunity. We want unity. We always want energy of unity. Things are so much more powerful when we're unified, when there's a shared consciousness, when we're all working together to use our desire to receive for the sake of sharing. Yes, Suzanne.
Yeah, so I'm internalizing this and I'm thinking, yeah, like evil eye, it's point of view, how you see, it's a it could be a judgment, right? But it's really when we think about energy and what we focus on, right? And because we have a nature, that focus and that quote unquote counting or knowledge or point of view or what have you. I mean, it could be far more expansive if we're just allowing it to be more of like a cloud in the sky and not focusing on it. So that particular entity manifests, right? Meaning you
Yes.
see the color blue. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
we
there's-
manifest what we focus on. Yeah.
Yes. There's a teaching
Totally.
With our eyes, we do all kinds of crazy things. We look, I don't know, maybe lascivious is the right word, or maybe it's not, but we look at things in a, we look at things with a desire to receive for the self. Let's just call it out like that. We do. I want that. And to the exclusion of the other people. I want that, not you. That's how we look at things. That's like, to a certain degree, it's a selfish perspective on the world because we think it's limited. It's not. There's nothing that's limited. The things that matter are unlimited. I mean, think back at high school and, your competition for friends. I need to be friends with that one. Do you? It's not the friend. What about the house I grew up in? And I have such fond memories of that. I'll never recap. It's not the house. It's the energy. It's the energy of companionship. It's the energy of the environment. It's not the physical thing itself. It never is. And to the degree that we feel that way about it, we need to look at things in a more expansive way. You know the expression, you can never go home. You don't need to go home. Whatever it was that you want to experience in that home, that energy is with you. It travels with you. Ron?
One more thing. So it's like a total mind trip, because when you look at business, it's like, how can you not count things, right? Like, how can you, it's like numbers or whatever, but it really
they count on that. I mean, profit loss. It's not complicated.
Yeah. But then that can kind of be connected to like the whole scarcity mindset, right? Like, how many do we have? Like, but it's like, in the flip side, you look at business as just, adding value to people and expanding and abundance. And it's a different, when you come from abundance, it's a different kind of mindset.
It's a different mindset. Like, I'm having a challenge with a client. I don't know that the business is going to grow. And I'm bummed about it. There's other business out there. Oh my God, that relationship just ended. And I'm kind of bummed out about these great. There's other relationships. Don't place a limit on that. But we do this. Who's responsible for making us think this way? It's the Satan, it's the other side. That's what the other side is doing all the time. Getting our focus off of this idea that all the blessings and the plenty and the relationships, all these things, it's coming from the upper realm. It's not the person or the place. We associate the person or the place with what we feel, that the feelings in here, and we can duplicate those feelings anywhere. It's not a world of scarcity. Come on, David, look around. I'm seeing what you're seeing. It's an illusion. I'm telling you, it's an illusion. I'm telling myself it's an illusion. But that's where we encounter the world. We strapped on this bodysuit, and then we have to look at the world through this bodysuit, and we see a world of limitations. It's not true. Yes, Rocky.
I'm special. I couldn't get the mute button.
Irrespective of that.
So when you speak in terms of it in that way, then the scarcity that we see would be based inside of the reality that we experience, right?
Yeah.
So we can't experience that which we don't know, right? We don't know what we don't know that we don't know. Correct. So when we see something, and because I sometimes deal with that on a daily basis, like with love, right? It's like, okay, I'm not feeling very loved right now, and I know I don't feel it because apparently at some point I had to feel it to know that I feel a lack in it.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Okay.
And it's a great point. It's
Oh,
like
I made Stacy
I
smile.
wouldn't feel the lack if I didn't know what it felt like to be sad, to feel it.
Right. Okay. So that's the premise but that would be the premise for everything that we experience. It would be I cannot know it if I've never experienced it.
So
It's like
obviously
watching
I did.
homelessness and being set inside of mental illness. They don't know or feel like they're in a place of destitution. We feel it because we see it and we experience it. But for them, they're okay. So, because I've met them and they're like, okay, take me home. I have a friend that bought a homeless guy some clothes because she saw him and his clothes was raggedy and dirty, and she went out and bought him some clothes and gave him some clothes. He sold them because he didn't feel like
You feel lack of clothing. I have clothes.
Right. He was like, I have clothes. I don't know what she's doing. Ask me what I need.
It's a perfect. Now you hear the story, you kind of get it. It's like we project those things on people, but they're not looking at it that way. But what you said is so important because we have to remind ourselves when we are feeling that lack, it's real. We know what it feels like to feel the fullness.
Right.
So it's there. I want to take it next level now that you brought that up. And that's this idea that we become disassociated. So for many of us, if not all of us, I don't know. For many of us, we've had this experience where we've been in a situation, and because of the toxicity, because of the harshness, because of the denial of love, we disassociate. And what does that mean? I've been told, I've read, it means that it's our coping mechanism. We shut down. And our brain assists us, like saying, look, you don't have it right now, but I'm going to help you get through this by marginalizing whatever it is that you're not getting. But we don't realize that. We think that that's normal. So we don't always realize, and this is the contrast to what Rocky was saying, we don't always realize what we're missing because we're living in a disassociated state. And so we're not experiencing the fullness of life because the pain underlying our environment that we are encountering. And so we have to find ways to reassociate, to reconnect, to finding the places and the relationships and the experiences that assist us in opening up again. And we all experience that to a greater or lesser degree as we go through life. And it's experiential. If you haven't experienced it, you can't really even understand it. You can't really speak to it. You can't connect to it. But there are ways we have all disassociated from blessings. That's a klipa. It's a shell. It stands in the way. It's preventing us from connecting to those blessings.
So is that why on Purim we go out of our way to share joy and to also share charity and all of these things?
It's all about us. Here's the paradox. Listen, I've been doing Purim my whole life. I knew there was a whole costume thing. I didn't understand it till I got onto the Kabbalistic path. The paradox is by dressing up as something else, I actually free myself. I remove my mask and put on a different one. It's free. It's the paradox of dressing up and feeling like unleashed. Literally. Some cases, literally. I can do anything. No one recognizes me. I can live, I can be myself. It's a crazy paradox. By putting on a costume, I can be myself. It started me personally on this whole idea of like, when I realized, I'm like, well, why don't I be myself when I don't have a costume on? I don't know. Why? I guess I'm afraid, embarrassed. I don't know. Shunned, I don't know. I don't know. Where did that come from? This desire to fit in. Where did it come from? This desire to let other people tell me how I have to lead my life, as opposed to me figuring out what works for me. I mean, think about it. When you're on this path, you're getting confronted with that. I mean, it's priceless. This ability to lean into what? Who you really are. That's your soul you're leaning into. That's what we're trying to more fully manifest our real self, not the bodysuit we put on, the spark that's inside, our soul. If I start living life like the way other people expect me to live, I'm betraying my soul. I mean, I don't want to overstate it. I don't think I am. It's self-betrayal. And so to your point, Roshan, the power of the Purim gives us is all these opportunities for us to kind of break through, step out, have a little drink. It'll help you look at things a little differently. Put on a costume. You're more free to be yourself. No one can judge you. They don't even know who you are. Like I have a thing on Purim, like I always wear a long wig. I notice nobody, long wig and sunglasses, people don't know who I am. It's amazing.
I guess I'm gonna get Ron to paint my face.
It's amazing. It's so powerful, really. The whole costume thing, I always think it was a thing for the kids. No, they don't even get it. It's for the adults. It's for us. It's an exercise in stepping out of the mask we wear the other 364 days a year. The mask that's been given to us by societal norms and family expectations. And community expectations and limitations. It's not me. No, we have to carve out our life. And it's different for every one of us. Otherwise, there'd be duplication, and there isn't. Each one of us has our own unique path. That's why we're here. To live our truth, to speak our truth, to look at the world through our eyes in truth. So that's the further paradox. Like the more we live as individuals, the more unified the world becomes. Really? Yeah. That's the shared consciousness. Be who you are. The Rav said, I forget where, it's like when you see the paradox, you're seeing a deeper truth, which is a paradox. So these are all the things that are available to us through this little powerful section that we're connecting to. Any questions? Okay, let's take another paragraph. That was only the first one. 210, 211. The Altrain Elaine La Shalta Behu Ena Bisha. Dahami Mana Le Alfar Yaakov, Elaine Inun Avanin Kadishin, Avanin Mefulamin, Deminhon Natke Miyain La Alma. The Alda Kativ Hayad Zaracha Ka'apar Haaretz Maharetz Afar, Alma Mitbarech Begine, Ufachi Mitbarachu Bezaracha Kol Goye Haaretz, Ka'apar Haaretz Mamash, Umispar Diu Monet Tinyana. Manalurava kol inun nukvin margalan ilain the matet shachiv ale Yisrael.
Over these two, the evil eye has no power, for who can count the dust of Jacob refers to the holy stones, strong stones from which water spouts
Into the world.
into the world.
So
this
what
is written.
what are these holy stones? What is the water? I mean, what are we talking about water? This is the energy coming from Binah through the 7 sfirot that manifest in our 7th sfirot, in our sphira, our realm of Malchut. The evil eye has no power over that. Evil eye is something that only operates in physicality, because in the upper realm, it's unlimited. Binah will not run out of water to nourish us and our world. It is the river, it is the rivers that run into the sea. The rivers will never run dry. What? They won't? No, they won't. Unlimited. Unlimited fulfillment, unlimited blessings, unlimited happiness, bli ayin hara. That's what we say, bli ayin hara. We say we bother without any ayin hara, without any evil eye. Evil eye is a connection to viewing the world as limited. And I need to get mine because there's only so much to go around. But that the evil eye has no control over the upper realm, has no control over the source, and thereby no control over the unlimited nature of that deeper reality. Keep going.
Of this it is written, and your seed shall be as the dust of the earth. As the dust of the world is blessed for his sake, so, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, like the very dust of the earth.
Okay, so this is like these verses are giving us this understanding of, what is our role in this world as the dust off the feet of Jacob. Is it a genetic thing? No. It's a consciousness thing. It's us still essentially carrying the torch. What torch? It's us carrying this consciousness of desire to receive for the sake of sharing. This is us spreading the light like a dust throughout the world, everywhere. Think about dust is an interesting thing, because I remember as a child, if you watch the sun streaking through a window, you would see all kinds of dust particles floating around. You might conclude that the dust is only in the ray of sunshine. That's not true. The dust is everywhere. The ray of sunshine just illuminates it. And it's also this whole concept of light can't manifest here without a vessel. And that dust essentially becomes, in my metaphor of the sunlight shining through the window and seeing all the dust particles floating around, you wouldn't see light if you didn't have a vessel of the dust. That's us. We're the vessels. We are reflecting the light that's coming from the upper realm. That's our role. But you can only do it if you have that consciousness. And it's a consciousness of sharing, not a conscious desire to receive the self. Because then it absorbs the light, doesn't reflect the light. We want to channel the light. We want to reflect the light. We want to be like the moon and reflect the light of the sun. We want to be like the dust in the rays of sunshine and reflect the light from the upper realm. And you know when you encounter people who are just sharing their light, and you know when you encounter people who can't because they're blocked. All right, let's finish that. Finish one more line.
Number is the second enumerator who counted so as to cause all those females, the celestial pearls, to rest on the bed on which Jacob was lying, which is Malchut.
Okay, and so this is literally bottom line is it's female energy. It's energy of manifestation. And so in this whole context, it's like, how do I look at myself vis-a-vis the rest of the world? Unlimited. I can do anything. The only limitations are the ones that I placed or place. And so what this whole section is giving us is the ability to see an unlimited potential, unlimited light, unlimited blessings. And our role in that, in having a consciousness of plenty, of unlimitedness, and not looking at the world through the eyes of limitation. And trying to discover where is it that I need to look at things in a more expansive and a more sharing and a more way of understanding that the blessings from the upper realm are unlimited. And we want to be manifesting that. Rocky?
I got a question that's kind of, you kind of led into it. So my goddaughter is going through, very bright, very smart young lady, but she's in a slump of fear. You know, she doesn't know, she's in her 20s and she doesn't know which way to go and how to do this. And I was saying to her, like Mikhail always say, lean into the darkness, right? When it's, the more pain it is, lean further into it, because that's when you're getting the most light. However, how do you remove as you lean into it? You don't want to get so deep and get stuck. You know, it's
Right,
like
right. And it's hard.
experience
It's hard.
but don't get stuck in it, right?
Listen, baby steps, little steps in that direction, because then it helps us to build our confidence. It helps us to expand our vessel. So it's like, what can I do to just move myself in that direction and build off of that? It's hard to bite off too much at one time. That's what comes up for me. I don't know if that will help, but that's what comes. It's like, you know, it's like the fear is real, but we need to do things one little step at a time to try and move it in the right direction and assist people really in knowing that they're loved and knowing that they're protected and knowing that they have this because it's a challenge that they need. That fear probably came from a prior life. She's back here again trying to address it. And if you know about it and you can help her, well, it's on your radar. So it's like, what can I do? What little baby steps can I assist her in taking to move in the right direction and building on that?
So I guess for me, it goes back to, we can't feel what we don't know, right? We can't experience what we don't know. So if we're feeling a sense of lack, which stems from fear, right? Because fear is lack in and of itself. So if we're feeling that leads to depression, what we consider depression to be. And because you said it, David, you said it, baby steps. That means that we're trying to do too much at one time and we get overwhelmed, right?
That's why the baby steps is so important. We want to avoid being overwhelmed.
You did that, yes. Take your time.
Just got to build on. Just got to build on it. You know,
yeah,
it's like when you. I mean, the analogy comes up for me. It's like when you want to climb a mountain. Well, start with a hill.
Yeah, yeah. A molehill.
Or how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time. That's right, Ron.
All right, that's a good place to end. Thank you. Thanks for that, Rocky. All right, everybody. Love you all. Have an awesome week. Shabbat shalom. Thank you for joining
Shabbat
us.
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.
Love all you
Shabbat shalom.
guys.
Shalom. Thank you, everybody.
Miss
Thank
you,
you, David.
Stacy. I'm gonna miss you tonight.
Thank you. Bye.